Hey, welcome to the Unstuck and Unstoppable podcast where we help you move your life forward. If you've ever been at a point in your life where you felt like giving up or throwing in the towel or just plain quitting, then you're listening to the right episode of our podcast today. I'm your host, Jim Kyles. I'm here with Jolea Garza.
Yeah, I am really looking forward to today.
So excited about today to have you join us. This has been such a great podcast. Today I came expecting just to really help people who feel like quitting and throwing in the towel. Over the last couple of years, have you felt like quitting?
I'm laughing because I just don't know a leader who has not hit
Felt like
some
quitting.
of those moments where you're just like, I don't think I can go any longer. I don't think I can go one more day. You know, how do I keep pushing forward?
Oh, well, over the last couple of years, you know, just through this global pandemic, there have been multiple times, more in the last couple of years than in my entire life have I felt like, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? Should I still keep doing it? And listen, if that's you and you're listening, you're in for a great day today in this podcast. Before we go any further, though, I do want to give a couple of shout outs. You guys have been so great that you're consuming the content. Last month, we launched this podcast. It's been just over a month, had almost 1,400 downloads. People are listening, I think 9 different countries.
Absolutely. It's so cool.
Spreading the word, sharing on social media. It's been really great. We've got a few people who have given reviews. We just want to give you a shout out, say thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So here's one. I have a couple. M. Westerdale said, amazing podcast.
That's awesome.
Powerful message. Start motivating yourself to move forward and let this get you going.
Wow. That's so cool.
Yeah. Row 96786 said, amazing podcast. Very easy to listen to. Love the examples you guys give and lets me, the listener, know I am not alone. Keep it coming.
Yeah. Well, thank you for those reviews.
Yeah, that's great.
And just continue to share, if you will, with those people that you think will benefit from it.
Yeah.
Let's get to the topic today. We're talking about not quitting.
Yeah.
And the truth is we've all experienced that, man, we have felt those moments where we want to quit, have felt like quitting. I just want to affirm, if that's you and you're listening today right now, you're normal.
Yes.
Can you just,
so
it's so normal.
So normal.
It's normal for people to have experienced that, especially as what we've gone through.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can feel like, well, maybe it's just me, but it's really not. Quitting and wanting to quit is a normal part of a process when things get tough. You know, anything that you want to do in life, whether you want to have a healthy marriage, you want to start a business, you want to have a healthy family, maybe physically. I've been on a journey probably the last couple of months. I hadn't talked a whole lot about it publicly outside of my staff, but probably the last 3 months, I just really worked hard to say, hey, we're going to be in a summer of transformation, not a summer slump. And been working hard physically, but it isn't easy.
It's not easy. I think that most people think, especially if you're looking at social media and everybody's highlight reels, it's just like everybody's keeping going. You know, they're doing so great. They never stop. And I think that the mark of a great leader is not that you don't want to quit, but it's what you do in those moments. You know, and so not even thinking about we lead and do different things, but even to the parents out there and to those that are married, and you're just like, there are always those moments as parents you're like, I don't know with these children, are they even mine? And so we all hit those moments in different areas of our lives, and so it's what we do in those moments where we feel like quitting that really marks us.
Well, absolutely. Well, and if I know who's listening, which I think I do, you're working, both of you are working jobs, you've got your career people, you've got your kids. So not only is it trying to not quit in your career, your job, what you do professionally, it's personally, it's your family, it's your marriage. You know, you've probably been married 8 years, 12 years. You got a couple of kids. It's financial, hardship. It's even spiritual hardship. So, if I know the listeners, like I think I do, you're trying to engage with God. You're trying to continue to grow. And so the attack can come in one of those areas or all of those areas. And here's what I want to encourage you with. If you quit, you're just going to get more of what you've already experienced in the past. And so when you recognize when you quit, it's like I am stuck.
Yeah.
And it's okay if you're there right now. You said I did just kind of quit. I tapped out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like I don't have anything left to give. Here's what I want to encourage you with is today we want to give you something in your fuel tank, something where you can say, yep, I've got a little bit more. Mm-hmm. I'm going to try. That's the whole point of the podcast is just take one step forward.
That's great.
Just a little bit better today than I was yesterday. And really recognize it. There's in chapter 12 of the book that I just wrote, it's going to be released in November 8th. In fact, as you're listening to this right now, you could probably either order it or go get a pre-ordered copy at jimkyles.com. Chapter 12 talks about temptations, traps, and hacks. Mm-hmm. Temptations, traps, and hacks. And it's kind of a catch-all chapter. Mm-hmm. And one of the subheadings of that chapter, I talk about the 1 yard line.
This is my favorite. This is probably one of my favorite topics in the book.
And you and I were talking about, so you're like, hey, this is and I saw it. It's something that I saw in 2021. Many of you watch the Super Bowl, and I recognize about half of our listeners are women. So you're probably not watching the Super Bowl to see who wins, but everybody watches the Super Bowl for the commercials.
Watching the commercials for sure.
And so there were a ton of people that watch it. In fact, 96 million viewers watched the 2021 Super Bowl. It was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it was the Kansas City Chiefs. Mm-hmm. And I personally was rooting for the Kansas City Chiefs to win. Well, second quarter, they had possession of the ball, couldn't convert it. And so they had to punt it to the Buccaneers. And if you're not a sports person, I don't want to lose you because I'm gonna share with you something that you'll be able to grasp whether you know football or not, and that is American football. Right. Because you kind of have to differentiate now.
Make sure you clarify. Yeah.
But they had the ball. They punted off to the Buccaneers, and they received the ball on the 30-yard line and ran the football all the way down to the 1 yard line. Mm-hmm. And even if you don't understand football, you can understand this. All they had to do was move the ball 1 yard to score a touchdown. Yeah. And they were already winning. I think it was 7-3, so they were ahead. But this was a game-changing moment, or a potential game-changing moment. And the reason why I say that is the Buccaneers received the ball, ran it down to the 1 yard line, and then you have 4 plays to get the ball from the 1 yard line into the touchdown goal. And so professional football teams, I would say 95% of the time, can move that ball.
That's easy. Like I know, I've learned a lot more about football, but that's always the nail biter of. But man, if you're at the 1 yard line, this should be an easy
slam dunk. Well, and that's with one try. Mm-hmm. The Buccaneers had 4 tries. Right. So you're sitting there thinking, oh, it's a no-brainer.
Of course they're going to get it. Yeah.
First play. Nope. The Chiefs stopped them. Now I was rooting for the Chiefs, so I'm like,
yes, they're crushing it.
Okay, second play. Chiefs stop them. I'm rooting. Third play. I'm like, you are kidding. They stopped them. Fourth play. They didn't even try to do an extra point or a field goal. Yeah. They said, we're going to make this, and they got stopped again. Now, in a game, that is a game-changing moment. That's where the momentum shifts. You would have seen the Chiefs come on board and say, man, we've got it. And in a football game and in athletics, momentum is really a deciding factor on who wins. But what we saw is as you continued to watch it, even though the Buccaneers were shut down in that moment, they used that moment to motivate them, to inspire them. Wow. They didn't get shut down. They didn't quit. They didn't say, we're failures. We're never going. They said, no. We're not going to lose this opportunity again. Great. They ended up coming back to win 31-9. Wow. And blew out the Chiefs. But I thought, wow, they turned defeat into an opportunity to gain real momentum. Right. To now say, we learned a few lessons, but we're not going to let that defeat stop us. We're actually going to win the game. And they didn't just win, they blew it out of the water.
I think that's so interesting because how many of us in life have been in the same position as the Buccaneers were at that moment? Yep. And yet, like we've seen in other examples in sports where that sets the pace for everything else that they do, that if they had given up in that moment, they would not have come back to win. They would not have won.
That's right. Well, and that's where here's what I want to encourage you. I believe that many of you right now are on the 1 yard line. That's good. I think that it's easy for you to experience a defeat. Look, maybe it was pre-COVID, you started a business, and now here we are 18 months, 24 months post-COVID, and you feel like, my God, I cannot seem to get ahead. I can't seem to get enough accounts. I can't seem to get enough we're barely making it, or maybe something happened, it got shut down, something went south. And here's what I really believe. The enemy will tell you, hey, you're not even close to scoring. You're not even close to fulfilling your dream. You're not even close to where it is you hope to be or dream to be. And I want to tell you, I think you're on the 1 yard line.
That's good.
I think you're closer than you realize. And don't allow that defeat to shut you down. Let it not be a loss. Let it be a learn.
Yeah. So I always say, like, when you feel like giving up, we don't realize how close we are to breakthrough.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is just quit, and then you're defeated. Now you're stuck.
Right.
And being stuck, there is a sense of, wow, at least I have, I'm okay with where I'm at. But the truth is, you're not okay with where you're at. You know there's something bigger on the inside of you. You know your marriage, that God has more for your marriage. You know God's got more for you financially and spiritually and relationally. And so don't be content with the loss. Say, no, that's a learn. I'm going to learn from that moment, and I'm going to move forward. I'm not going to quit. I want to give you just 3 things that out of the book. It's really chapter 12. There's, I think, 5 or 6 things, but I want to give you 3 things that I really believe is going to help you. You're listening today. Maybe you have been defeated, or you feel defeated, or you got stopped, and maybe you tried and you tried and you tried and you tried again. I want to tell you this: try again.
Come on, one more time.
Don't quit.
Yeah, keep going. That's great.
You don't lose until you refuse to get back up.
So good.
And so you're going to get back up, and you're going to say, hey, today's my day. I'm going to learn some things to help me not quit and to lose in the game of my life. And the first thing that I would tell you, and you and I talked about this earlier, I cannot understate this first thing that we have to do. You have to resolve not to quit.
So good. Yeah.
Resolve not to quit. Now, that's not a word that we hear often.
I love the word resolve. To me, if you were to paint a picture of resolve, it's just saying, I'm not moving.
That's right.
So I always think digging your heels in the ground.
That's right.
Being immovable, like red light, or what is the red light, green light, or the one where you, Red Rover,
Red
where
Rover.
you're just locked
You're like,
in.
I'm locked in.
I'm not going anywhere. That's
Red
I
Rover.
was
She
like, I
pulled
don't know
out
what
Red
it
Rover.
is. But that's the illustration that I imagine when I say I'm
yes.
resolved to do something.
That's right.
It's like, whatever comes my way, I'm
you
not
could break
moving.
my arm.
I'm not
you could rip
stopping.
my arm off.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, and it's a quality decision.
Yes.
That's where you've got to make up your mind on whatever it is. Listen, I'm sensing even right now you're struggling in your marriage. And it's like, man, do I give up? Do I quit? And here's what I would just say. When there is a resolution that I am not quitting, I am not stopping,
That's great.
then there is something that happens internally and inside of your brain that says it's not whether or not we're going to make it, it's how we make it.
Right. I think we often say the phrase choices lead, feelings follow.
That's right.
I think that's so easy because feelings would allow us to make excuses that we really wouldn't make if we were looking at things in the right perspective. So even in your marriage, it may feel as if it's easier to walk away, but if I make the right choice, here are all the benefits that would come. And so making resolve really means that I'm looking at the choices versus following my feelings, and that's such a big switch.
Well, and it was interesting. I was talking about the physical journey of trying to get back in shape before COVID. It was 2018, I think it was. I really spent 3 years getting my body. I'm 45 years young now, but at 40, I'm like, man, I am going to get in shape.
Right.
Well, after COVID happened, now I'm rocking a COVID bod. You guys know with the COVID bod, the plus 15, the plus 10. And I just made a determination. I'm like, I'm not going to live like this. And it was funny, about 3 months ago, I started doing a keto diet and really being strict. And Phyllis said, well, when are you going to stop? I said, I have a goal. I'm not going to tell what the goal is because it doesn't really matter. But I said, I will not stop until I reach this goal. That's great. And there is something with that quality. I told her, I said, come, if I starve myself, I've been getting up working out twice a day, doing different things that it takes 2 days. And it's like, I'm not stopping. Even this morning, I was up at 4:30 this morning. We had to record this. We had some other things. And my point is not to brag on me or try to impress you with what I'm saying. I want to impress upon you the fact that when you make a quality decision, there is a flip of a switch that happens, and it's like, there's no other option. And that's what I want to encourage you with. Some of you are walking into your life right now. You've never really made that quality decision. It's like, well, we'll do it if the circumstances work out. I'll do it if my spouse gets better. I'll do it if the economy. No. No, you're going to be financially debt free.
Right.
I know you're working hard. So it's not if I'm going to be debt free. It's I am going to be debt free.
So good.
There is a resolve, and I'm not quitting until it's done.
I think discipline is another key word here. You know, it's not easy to be disciplined. It just really isn't. But I think that's such a gift. And so even, you know, for us, we have to retrain ourselves in the areas in life where maybe in the past, if you didn't want to do something, maybe your spouse gave you a way out, or your parents in the past gave you a way out. Like, you know, I'm thinking about my kids. One of them is old enough now to volunteer for our vacation Bible school.
That's right.
And so they said, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to sing on the worship team. We're going to be a part of it. And sure enough, you know, he was one of the only boys up there. And he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I said, no, listen, you made a commitment and you made a decision. And so now you have to have the discipline to see it through. And I think it's the same for us. When we make a decision, when we commit to a marriage, when we say, hey, I have a goal to work out and get healthier, now it's the discipline that will carry us through and allow us to hit those goals.
Discipline is a key word. You're never going to reach those goals. You're never going to get unstuck. And discipline is something that you can continue to work on. Because even if I miss the mark and continue to have to rebuild my discipline, if I have the resolve, I'm just not going to quit.
Right.
And so I just want to encourage you to have the resolve. We say something around here all the time, and I learned it way back when I was a part of this ministry and event, and I wanted to quit. And this is what came out of me. It's I cannot quit. I will not quit. Quitting is not an option. I cannot quit. I will not quit. Quitting is not an option. So one of the great things that you can do if you want to build some stamina and tenacity in your life, go run. Go jog.
That's great.
Because when you jog a couple of miles, there's inevitably a place where you hit a brick wall and you're like, man, I want to quit.
Yeah.
And so what I would train myself to do, and even now, even this morning, I was on my fourth round of the workout, and I'm like, man, I don't know if I'd make it. And I just a switch went in my brain. I cannot quit. I will not quit. Quitting is not an option.
And I love you used to say, hey, just one more.
One more.
Yeah, can I just do one more? What do I have one more minute in me? Can I get one more set done?
Yep.
You know, and I think that's so great.
That's so good. So you got to make a quality decision. You got to resolve not to quit in whatever area it feels or you have experienced a setback in. Second thing is, I talk about you got to faith it until you make it.
I love it. Not fake it till you make it.
No. Well, and there's a difference in this because
this is great.
So many times people say, I'm going to fake it until I make it. And I do have a problem with that because I'm not asking you to fake it until you make it. I'm asking you to faith it. Now, you may not even be a believer. You may not even be a Christian, and that's okay. What I mean by faith it until you make it is to realize that who you are trying to become, what you're trying to do is the real you. Yeah. And so when you do things that seem like you got to fake it, it's not fake, it's faith, because it's who you already are. It's just not realized in your life yet.
That's great.
So you're an entrepreneur. Great. Your business failed. Faith it until you make it. You are. I am an entrepreneur. Yes, that business failed, but that failure doesn't make me a failure. Yeah. I am a successful businessman. I'm a successful businesswoman. And so you faith it. What would a successful businessman or woman do?
Right.
Not a failed businessman or woman. What would a successful? And then you do it. And as you do it, you don't feel successful, but that's where the faith comes in. What would a happily married couple do? What would a healthy family do? What would someone who was debt-free do? How would they spend their money or their resources? What would a healthy executive do? Or so wherever it is in your life that you're experiencing a setback or you feel stuck, what is the healthy goal or the destination? What does that look like? And then start acting and behaving and speaking like that. Right. Not because you're a fraud or a phony or a fake or a counterfeit. Yeah. But because that's who you already are.
I think too, we've talked about the imposter syndrome before, and hey, I don't feel, and so I love this because it's really what it's saying is everything that you are called to be, all of the dreams, every aspiration that you have, all of the things that you feel you have been called to accomplish in this life, it's already on the inside of you. It's
already inside of you.
And so even practically, you're like, hey, I'm looking at my marriage, or hey, I'm a failed entrepreneur.
Right.
It's all about the words. So even going from, hey, I'm a failed entrepreneur, that business didn't work, to, hey, I am an entrepreneur. I am called to open and start businesses that thrive. As you begin to say those things and speak life over who you are. Hey, my marriage is built to thrive. I have a good marriage and it's going to be good. As you begin to say those things, and if you are a believer, you're speaking scriptures over your life, and really just pulling things out that really helps you faith it.
And I was thinking of Thomas Edison. I'm just thinking about, I can't remember exactly. I want to say it was 1,001 times he worked on the light bulb.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? I mean, to feel like a failed inventor.
Yeah.
And yet he has given us this modern phenomenon of light that comes in the form of electricity.
Yeah.
But he just quit. He didn't quit. He kept moving forward, and he didn't take this mentality, I'm a failure. 1,000 times. Can you imagine? I mean, 1,000 times that's 1,000 times. Yeah. That's a long time.
I just don't, even as we're just talking, I don't know of any great success and a person that maybe we aspire or look up to that hadn't had some major epic failures 100%. Before they succeeded. 100%. You know what I mean? It just separates it just separates people.
And I was even thinking about the book that I just wrote. I actually have 5 or 6 manuscripts of other books in my computer that are unwritten. And I thought, I remember when I started writing the book, Unstuck and Unstoppable, the thought was, well, will you actually finish this one? Will it actually get done?
That's
and there was something in me. I'm like, this is the one.
Yeah. But you never stop saying, I'm an author.
I'm an author. I said it all the time.
Right. And so it's not about, but sometimes
what happens
it is
in this
timing.
moment. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just the resolve. I'm not going to give up.
I'm not quitting.
And I still believe I'm going to speak life over who I am,
That's right.
who I'm called to be.
I'm going to speak who I am, whether I've realized it or not.
Great.
And third thing is this, and this principle is, I really think this is going to, this will bless many of you. It's something that I learned. I can't even tell you where I learned it at. I think I was walking through just a really tough season, and it's this, and it's going to sound super simple, but I'm telling you, it's probably the most powerful thing that I do in my life today, is when you are feeling like you're ready to quit, you're ready to throw in the towel, you get home, the day's been exhausting, you had a horrible day at work, your kids are going cray-cray, you got in the biggest fight with your spouse ever, you get the bills, you look at your finances, you're financially broke, it's 9 o'clock at night.
Come on.
Now you're sitting there, you're frustrated, you're angry, you're
about to
depressed.
Call it all quits. You're like, it's done.
And in that moment, you pull out your laptop and you fire off the email, I quit. I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore.
Right.
What we fail to realize is at the end of the day, we make these massive life change decisions that then cause us to be stuck because we're at the end of a day. So here's what you got to do. When you're experiencing a day like that, when you want to quit, when you want to send the email, when you want to tell your spouse I'm done, when you want to tell your kids you're moving out, I'm giving you away, listen, just go to bed.
That's my favorite.
Just go to bed.
I love it.
Go to bed. And it's the most powerful principle that I think that I have ever come to realize in my life, because there have been many moments where I wanted to quit, I wanted to give up, I'm done. And I learned if I'll go to bed, what I'm doing is I'm now speaking, I'm a Christian and a believer and a pastor. I tag God and I say, God, I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
All of my problems are now yours. And it'll drive you crazy if you feel like you have to have resolution and I can't do it till it's all solved. No, you're not going to solve it all. But if you'll go to bed, what happens at the end of a day like that is your grace is at the end of the day. And God's mercies are new every day. New strength, new grace, new power, new wisdom. And when I go to bed and get a good night of sleep, then I wake up, I spend the first few minutes of the next day, I'm having quiet time, I'm praying, I'm reading my word, maybe you meditate, whatever it is that you do, you get your center for your life. Well, now as I face those same challenges that the night before seemed like the life ending, there's no hope, like now it's like, well, it wasn't that big a deal.
We're okay. I'm okay. And I think you probably have shared this a couple of years ago now, and I use this in my personal life. Like, I believe that this is so powerful, because when I go to bed, I really am just releasing it. But making decisions at night when you've had a long day, it's like making decisions in a heightened emotional experience. It's like, having a bad conversation with your boss one day and saying, I quit and walking out, versus just saying, let's just take a step back and reevaluate. And how much better is it when you wake up? And I do often wake up and just say,
Wow.
It wasn't as bad as
It
I
wasn't as
thought
bad.
it was.
Yeah, because you have to remember we are emotional beings, men,
Yeah.
women, and you have a bad day, and I wish you could say it comes in layers or it comes in waves, but it doesn't typically do that for
Yeah.
me. Usually it's like a bad day, I get it from every which way.
Yeah.
And you just have to remember you're in a spiritual battle. Your life is a spiritual battle. The enemy wants you to quit. He wants you to throw in the towel. And sometimes you'll send off that email, you'll fire off those comments, you'll call that person. And you set off enough things in motion that you sabotaged your life.
Yeah.
Your boss is now like, no, I'm done. We're good. Your spouse is like, hey, you've said that
One
divorce
too many times.
one too many times. Your kids are like, man, mom, you fire off things that are just, and now you find yourself in an emotional frenzy. Your life is a wreck. And it's really because you sabotaged it.
Yeah, you keep making decisions at the end of the day. And maybe it's not just go to bed, but also like if maybe you can't go to bed, maybe it's the middle of the day and you're like, I've had it. Just reset. Take a step back and stop whatever you're doing. Go for a walk. I was listening to a great teaching a while ago that says even a 15-minute walk for leaders helps them process. It helps you just reset your day and then come back to whatever you're doing.
Absolutely.
So I really think it's just taking times to reset before you make rash, quick decisions.
Yeah, and I want to encourage you with this. Don't make any major life decisions at the end of a day.
So good.
At the end of the day, say, hey, I'm going to reserve. My son just bought a truck. I was telling Jolea about it, and it was so cool because we went and looked at it. We said we wanted it, but we had to come back the next day to buy it, so we put a deposit on it. And I told my son, I said, really, this is the best way to buy because I've had a night to sleep on it.
Right.
He loves the truck. He's excited about it. But is it really a great financial deal? Is it really a good deal for him? And I think that's where for each and every one of you, I want to encourage you, if you find yourself at that place, hey, just pause. Say, God, I'm going to give this to you. Go get some sleep. Sometimes just close our mouth, close our eyes, shut down our mind, and then wake up the next day and ask God for wisdom. God, what do I do? And I promise you, if you'll do that, it may change the course of your life because you won't derail it. You won't sabotage it. And so I really think those three things, if you'll work on, look, make a resolve. I'm not quitting.
Yep.
Cannot quit. I will not quit. Quitting's not an option. Faith it till you make it, not fake it. Don't try to be something you're not. But who you are and who God's calling you to be, like I'm going to faith that. That's that I'm going to live it out by faith. And then the third thing is, look, when life gets overwhelming, when it's at the end of a day, it's been stressful, bad things are happening, I'm going to go to bed. I'm not going to make any rash decisions. I'm not going to have any get off those hard phone calls late at night. Don't do it. Don't do it. Do them in the morning when you're fresh. Your mind has had some rest. Your spirit has had some rest. And you've got new, fresh grace for a brand new day.
Great.
I hope that helps you today. We're going to continue to move forward. I'm excited next week. We want to see you back here as we close out the podcast. Maybe you're listening right now and you feel stuck. We have a great resource for you.
Yeah, so we have our free ebook called Help I'm Stuck, and that can be found on the website jimkyles.com.
jimkyles.com. Yeah, and absolutely free. We've also got other show notes and things that we're uploading constantly. I was working on some assessment worksheets with one of our team members. And so just go back to the website, and we want to constantly give you things to help you be resourced so that your life is not stuck, but you're moving forward.
Absolutely.
We've got a few steps that we want to do or want to help you take. First step is to subscribe to the podcast. Would you just subscribe? That way you automatically get it wherever it is that you consume the podcast at.
Every Tuesday morning, our new
comes
podcast
out 5 a.m.
Yep. The next is to teach somebody about what you learned today. So maybe you just bring them this information. Maybe you share it with your spouse at dinner today. Hey, I learned that when we're at each other at 9 p.m. at night, instead of completing the fight, we're just going to go to bed and start over tomorrow. So teach it.
Yeah. Next, we want you to engage. We're asking you, would you engage in our online community? Facebook. Go into the right now the podcast description, click a link, go to our social media page. Let's get connected. Let's engage together. We want to join you on your journey to get unstuck. So make sure you tag me and Jolea and Unstuck and Unstoppable.
Yeah, and then post. So we want you to post a review. Tell us how you're experiencing this podcast and how it's impacting your life.
And then share it. Share the podcast with someone. So we'd love for you to share it. Just find one person. Would you just right now say, hey, here's one person, share it with them, and let's see how we can help them get unstuck, and not only just get unstuck, but we want to help you become unstoppable. So glad to be able to join you today. We're excited to help you move your life forward.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
See ya.